Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight, and today I'm going to talk about geomancy. And today I'm going to show you how to do this yourself. In my opinion, geomancy is one of the most accurate and powerful tools of divination in the world. Geomancy is a very powerful form of divination. Geomancy is very useful for finding all kinds of information. And this is one of the main tools that was used by Renaissance magicians, along with astrology, to get advice through divination before performing some type of a working. The word geomancy comes from the Latin geomantia, which comes from the Greek for earth divination. Normally with geomancy, you trace a series of dots in the sand or in the dirt. Although many modern magicians actually use pen and paper, which is what I use. Some would see geomancy as an actual divination by communication with earth spirits or earth elementals. So some people would see geomancy literally as divination with the use of earth elementals, while others would use geomancy to communicate with planetary spirits and planetary intelligences. Basically, with communication with planetary intelligences, you will draw the sigil of the spirit you wish to communicate with, and then you will call upon the spirit. This is actually the sigil of Ulk, the Olympic spirit of the sun. Basically, you draw the spirit, the sigil of the spirit, the planetary spirit you wish to communicate with. You call upon its name and ask it the question, and then you focus on the question while making a series of dots, which I'll get into in a moment. Excuse me. I normally use this quite a bit to communicate with the Olympic spirits. So I use this quite a bit in my own practice, in communication with the Olympic spirits. So I will write the sigil and the name of the spirit, and I will repeat the name of the spirit while looking at the sigil, and then I'll ask my question. And basically, if you use this as a form of communication with planetary spirits, then you'll basically ask the spirit with the planet that governs whatever area of life that you're looking to divine into. So, for example, if you want to know about your love life, then Venus governs that, so you'll look into Venus. If you want to know about journey by water, you might go into ask the planetary spirits of the moon. If you want to know about a job promotion, then it would be Jupiter. So while many people would use geomancy simply as earth divination, or communicating with earth elementals, or using the energies of the earth, some people would also see this as communicating and working with the planetary and astrological energies through the earth. So there are different ways of looking at this. You see different perspectives. And actually, one of the most common ways of reading this, you actually use an old school astrological chart. You look at the astrological houses. And the geomantic figures are assigned to you know, the zodiac, planetary associations, north and south nodes of the moon, things like that. So geomancy was one of the most important forms of divination. Excuse me. It was very important in Renaissance magic. During the Renaissance, there were basically two forms of divination. These were astrology. Normally, if you wanted to get a divination for advice, you'd go to an astrologer. Now, alternatively, and it was often a little bit cheaper if you didn't have quite enough money, you would go to a geomancer, and they would give you a reading on whatever you want to know about. Now, I personally use both astrology and geomancy when I choose to do some type of a magical working. First of all, especially if it's planetary magic or planetary spirit evocation, I use geomancy to see if I should do a working. Should do it. By should, I look at the planetary, I look at the Olympic spirits very much as my own advisors, and I trust them very much. And they've never let me down before. The Olympic spirits are marvelous. But before I do a magical working, I do a geomantic reading to see if I should do the working. By should, I see if, for one thing, if it will backfire. If I'll have some type of backfiring, or if there's something about getting what I want that I don't really, if there's something about the situation I don't know about that can cause problems, if there are hidden influences, it's possible that once I get what I'm asking for, it may be something that I don't really want, or the particular procedure that I'll be using may be ineffective. Things like that. So geomantic reading is a good general divination before you do any type of magical working. Then, once I get the okay with that and everything looks good, I'll do an astrological chart for the day and hour to see what's actually going on in the heavens. Astrological elections are very important in Renaissance magic to see what's really going on astrologically. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all to just follow planetary days and hours and you're not looking at what's actually going on with the planets. It makes absolutely no sense. If you're going to do planetary evocation or talismans, you need to look at what's going on astrologically. And really, the Picatrix is a really good book for learning about astrological elections, to know what to look for. So, geomancy. How does it work? Well, geomancy begins by making a series of dots, and then you add them up to see if they're odd or even. So let's say that we're going to ask a question. What should we ask? Let's see. I don't know, I'll just do it randomly. So you hold a question in your mind, and starting from right to left, you make a series of dots, okay? And then you do 3 more rows like that. Okay? So now you have 4 rows of dots. Now you see if each row is odd or even. If a row is odd, then it becomes 1 dot. If a row is even, then it becomes 2 dots. I'll show you an example. So here, how many dots do we have on the first row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, that's an odd number, so we get 1 dot. Again, if you get an odd number in a row, that's 1 dot. If you get an even number, that's 2 dots. So how many dots do we have in the second row? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 2 dots. If you get an even number, it's 2 dots, remember? So how many dots do we have in the third row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, again, that's an odd number. An odd number gives 1 dot. Okay, this last row is an odd number, which again is 1 dot. So again, you make 4 rows of lines, 4 rows of dots, beginning right to left. You make the dots while holding the question in your mind. If you get an odd number, that's 1. You get an even number, that's 2. So we now have a figure here. This figure is called Qabalah. So if you want to do the most basic geomantic reading, simply focus on your question and make 4 rows of dots from right to left, and then you count the number of dots in each row, getting either an even or an odd number. Again, even numbers is 2 dots, odd numbers are 1 dot. This is Qabalah. It represents feminine energy, a female presence, things like that. It means girl in Latin. So, if you want to know the most basic way, if you just want to know the basic way to do a geomantic reading, just one figure, just ask a question, hold the question in your mind, and do 4 rows of dots from right to left. Then you count up each row to see if it's odd or even. Odd numbers makes 1 dot, even numbers makes 2. So let's say the question is, will I, let's see here. Is it going to rain tomorrow? Okay, as an example. Okay, so we have 4 rows of dots. Let's see what we have here. So together, let's count the top row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an even number. Even numbers make 2 dots. Okay, let's count the second row. 1, 2, you can count with me if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, an even number makes 2 dots. So let's count the third row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, that's 2 dots. An even number makes 2 dots. Now the bottom row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, an even number makes 2 dots. So odd numbers make 1 dot, 2 numbers is 2 dots. This is populous. So if you want the basic way to make a do a geomantic reading, simply ask the question and make 4 rows of dots. Okay, so we'll do one more. I don't know. You just hold a question in your mind. 4 rows from right to left. Now you want to avoid counting as you do it, because you want it to you don't want it to be a conscious thing. So now we'll do, this is the last one. Again, we count the rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an even number, so that's 2 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 is an odd number, which is 1 dot. Again, even numbers make 2 dots. Odd number in a row makes 1 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 is an odd number, so 1 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, 9 is an odd number, so 1 dot. Okay, so this is Cauda Draconis. And you can look up the meaning of the 16 geomantic figures online. You can look these up. But that is how you basically, you hold a question in your mind, you do 4 series of dots. Again, traditionally this would be like in sand or dirt. Ever since the Renaissance, and I use pen and paper, it works wonderfully well. So yeah, hold the question in your mind, make 4 rows of dots from right to left, and then you get a geomantic figure. Even numbers make 2 dots, odd numbers make 1 dot. So how do you do, so now you know how to get a geomantic figure. Now you know how to do, from what I've just told you, you now know how to ask one question and get just a 1 answer. Okay? Now we can get a little bit more complex. Let's do a three geomantic figure reading. This is not very traditional, but it works. Let's say that we're going to ask, will it, I don't know, we'll just pretend that you asked a question, and this time we're going to do 4 groups. We're going to do 4 rows 3 times, because we're going to get 3 geomantic figures, okay? We'll do it down here. Okay, so this time we've got 3 figures, which we're going to get 2 witnesses and a judge, which is basically the judge will answer our question and the 2 witnesses will expand on that. Alright, so this reading is not very traditional at all, but it is a very quick reading that you could do it with just 3 figures, okay? So we're doing the same thing where we held the question in our minds and we did 4 rows of dots from right to left. This time we did that 3 times. So 4 rows of dots, 4 rows of dots, 4 rows of dots. With this we can get 2 witnesses and 1 judge. Basically, the last one, the judge, will answer the question and the 2 witnesses will expand on that. So how many do we have? Let's get our first geomantic figure together, shall we? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is an even number, so how many dots is that? That's 2 dots. Okay. Now we go to the next row and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is an even number. Even numbers are 2 dots. Okay, we go to the third row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 again is an even number, so 2 dots. The last row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 is an odd number, and odd numbers are 1 dot. So there's our first witness. Now we do the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an even number, so 2 dots. 9 is an odd number, so 1 dot. 8 is an even number, so 2 dots. 7 is an odd number, so 1 dot. So from this, here we have Tristitia and Acquisitio. These are the 2 witnesses. And now we get our judge. 6, which is an even number, so 2 dots. 8 is an even number, so 2 dots. 8 is an even number, so 2 dots. 11 is an odd number, so 1 dot. So here you have your judge, that is the answer in short, and then you look at these together to get a deeper understanding of the situation. Now, if you wanted to consult one of the planetary spirits, how would you do that? Well, let's say you wanted to ask the Olympic spirit of the sun, Ok. You draw the sigil of Ok, repeat his name, Ok, Ok. You repeat the name of the spirit, repeat it over and over and over, concentrate on it. Then you ask the spirit the question as you make the series of dots. Okay? So, I mean, that's basically it. 6 is an even number. 6, even number. 7 is an odd number, so 1 dot. 7 is an odd number, so 1 dot. So here we have Tuna Major, which is a very good. So, now you know how to do a basic geomantic reading. So now we get to the more complex stuff. So how do you do a full chart? Okay, now I'm going to show you how to take the information that you've learned and do a full geomantic reading. So we went from the easy stuff to now to the more complex. This is actually how astrological charts looked back during the Renaissance. They didn't actually have like these circular charts we have now. This is how a natal chart would look. So geomancy, although it is based in the earth, is very astrological in its readings. So these are the houses. So here you have the first house, which represents yourself, how you face a situation. The second house is your possessions, your wealth. Your third house, your communication. Your fourth house, your home and your family, etc., etc. Sixth house, your work. Seventh house, partnerships, on and on and on. Your ninth house, travel, higher learning. You know, your 11th house, group work, things like that. And then in here, like I just showed you, you have 2 witnesses and a judge. Okay, so this is the most popular outline. Kind of like with tarot, you have the Celtic cross. This is like a spread. Okay, you're going to put geomantic figures in here. So how do you do a geomantic reading? Here you have four mothers, what are called 4 mothers. From the 4 mothers, you get 4 daughters. From the mothers and daughters, you get 4 nieces, and from the nieces, you get the 2 judges, 2 witnesses, and the judge. So this is where it starts to get a little complicated, but that's okay. I'm going to break it down. Basically, we're going to make 4 geomantic figures, which are the mothers. The reason they're called the mothers is because these 4 figures are going to be used to, all the other figures are going to be extrapolated from these 4 mother figures, and they will be placed in this chart. So hopefully you guys have followed this video thus far. You know that if you want to take a break, if you want to go have a coffee or something, that's fine, because things are about to get a little bit more in depth. So here we go. So we're going to get now we're going to do a full geomantic reading based on the information that I just shared with you. First of all, if you want to ask a particular spirit, such as Oak, you draw the sigil of the spirit, the planetary spirit, this planetary magic. You call on the name of the spirit. You ask your question. What I normally do is I write it at the top of the page. Will this working be effective? Or should I do this working? Okay, so I trace the sigil of the planetary spirit, the sun. Let's say there's a solar work. I call upon Oak, call upon his name, look at his sigil. I ask the question. I hold the question in my mind, and this time I'm going to make 4 geomantic figures. So once again, I'm going to do 4 series of dots 4 times. Okay. So here we go. Again, you want to avoid counting because you don't want to consciously be manipulating it. Just focus on your goal. Uh-oh, I did a mess up. See, even I mess up sometimes. You want to avoid getting too close to the paper until you get to the last line. But this is just an example, so it's okay. So we have 4 rows, 4 times. We're going to get 4 geomantic figures, which will be our 4 mothers. And then I'll show you how to plug that in to this to get a full geomantic reading, okay? So let's get our first mother. Again, this is kind of long and tedious, but it's worth it in the end. So let's count our first row of our first mother. 9. 9 is an odd number. Odd numbers make 1 dot. Now let's count our second row. 8. 8 is an even number. Even numbers make 2 dots. Let's count our third row. 7 is an odd number. Odd numbers make 1 dot. Let's count our last row, our fourth and last row. 7 is an odd number. Odd numbers make 1 dot. So we have our first mother. Our first mother is Qabalah. So now let's get our second mother. 9 is an odd number. Odd numbers make 1 dot, like I said. Let's count our second row. 8 is an even number. Even numbers make 2 dots. Third row. 8 is an even number. Even numbers make 2 dots. And our last and fourth row. 11 is an odd number, which odd numbers make 1 dot. Once again, odd numbers make 1 dot, even numbers make 2 dots. So now we have our second mother, which is Carcer. Now, let's get our third mother in the same way. Let's count the top row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an even number. Even numbers translates to 2 dots. Second row, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is an even number. An even number of dots translates to 2 dots. Third row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once again, 10 is an even number. Even numbers translate to 2 dots. Last and fourth row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 is an odd number. Once again, an odd number translates to 1 dot. There's our third mother. Now we get to our last of the 4 mothers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is an odd number. Odd numbers translate to 1 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is an odd number, translates to 1 dot. Let's do our third row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do 6. 6 is an even number, translates to 2 dots. Bottom row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 is an odd number, translates to 1 dot. I kind of have a bad feeling about this last figure. Somehow I think this is not right. It's okay. It's just an example reading. So we have 4 mothers here. We have Qabalah, Carcer, Tristitia, and Puer. I kind of have a feeling, I just feel that this reading is going to be kind of iffy. Based on, I think, we'll find out. I think it's not going to be a very good reading, but okay. So, now we plug these in here. Now, there are different ways that this is done. For example, some people would put the 4 mothers here. The next house, they'll put the 4, they'll do it that way. Excuse me. The way I do it is that I start here and I do the 4 mothers, and then I do the 4 daughters, and then I do the 4 nieces, and then I do the 2 witnesses and the judge. And if I want, I'll put a reconciler down here, which I'll get into in a minute. And this is pretty common. So your first house is yourself, okay? Or how you face the situation. Here we have Qabalah. I don't think that really fits me, but again, this is just an example. I didn't even ask a question. So Qabalah is the first house, okay? So now we get the second mother. Second house, in this case, is Carcer. Okay, that's possessions and money. Now we get to the third house. It's Tristitia. Again, this is not a very good reading, but it's just an example. Here. That's the third house. And then the fourth and last house is Puer. So now we have our 4 mothers, okay? And from the reason these are called mothers is because all the other figures come from these. So now we extrapolate the 4 daughters. The next 4 geomantic figures are known as the daughters. Okay, so these are called the mothers. Alright? All the way. Alright, these are called the mothers. And these next 4 figures are going to be known as the daughters. Okay? So how do you get the daughters? Very simply. You get the top the top of each figure makes up the first daughter. Then the second row of each of these 4 figures gives us the second daughter. The third row of each figure gives us the third daughter, and then the bottom row of each figure gives us the last daughter. So I'll give you an example. So for the first daughter, think of a geomantic figure as the head, the neck, the body, and the feet. Okay, think of it like this. The first daughter is all the heads. The neck is the second daughter of each figure. The body of each figure makes up that one, the feet. Excuse me. So, the first daughter, you see what the top row is of each figure. So, the first mother has 1 dot on top, okay? The second mother, again, has 1 dot. How many on top? 1. So, what does the third mother have on top? 2. This one has 2 on top. Okay? And then the last one has 1 on top. So again, you get the first daughter by looking at whether you have 1 or 2 on each of the top row of the mothers. The second mother, and I hope that's plain enough for y'all, basically the daughters are looking at the mothers sideways, if that makes sense. So the second daughter, we're going to look at the neck of each of the mothers, or the second row down of each of the mothers, okay? So what is the second row down? How many dots on the first mother? 2. This becomes 2 of the head of the second daughter. Okay, so now we're looking at the second row of the next figure is 2. So how many dots are in the second row of the third figure? Again, 2. And how many dots are in the second row of the fourth figure? 1. Okay? So that gives us our second daughter. Now we're going to look, the third daughter is going to be the third row of each of the mothers. So how many dots are on the third row of the first mother? 1. How many dots in the third row of the second mother? 2. The third row of the third mother, 2. The third row of the fourth mother, 2. Okay? This gives us Letitia. And now the fourth and last daughter, we're going to do the last row of each of the mothers. Again, the mothers produce the daughters. Okay? So, the last row of the first mother is 1 dot. The last row of the second mother is 1 dot. The last row of the third mother is 1 dot. The last row of the fourth mother is 1 dot. This is Via, or Via. So, by doing that, we now have 4 daughters, okay? Now, hopefully you followed me thus far. Again, these 4 mothers are the 4 figures we got earlier. From the 4 mothers, you did the top of each one became the first daughter, the second row of each one became the second daughter, third row, third daughter, bottom row of each one became the fourth daughter. Now we get to what are known as the nieces. How do you get the nieces? Here you add up, through addition, you add the first 2 mothers, then you add the next 2 figures, then you add the next 2 figures and the next 2 figures, okay? So let's put it this way. 1 plus 1. First of all, to find the first niece, we're going to add these two figures. Okay, so again, we did the 4 mothers, the 4 daughters, so now we're at the 4, in this area are the 4 nieces. We do this through addition. So to get the first niece, we add up the first 2 mothers. So let's start at the top row. 1 plus 1 is 2, which is an even number, 2. Okay, now we go to the second row. 2 plus 2 is 4. The second row of each one, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is an even number. Even numbers translate to 2. So now we're going to add up the third row of the first 2 figures. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number. Odd numbers translate to 1. And now we add up the last row. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so hopefully that made sense for you guys. That is the first, we've got the first niece by adding up the first 2 mothers. So now we get to the second niece by adding up these 2 figures. Once again, we start by adding up the top row. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number. Odd numbers translate to 1. So now we add up the second row, or the next. Okay, so 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number. Odd numbers translate to 1. Now we add up the third row. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is an even number, which translates to 2. And now we add up the last row. 1 plus 1 is 2, which is an even number. Even numbers makes 2. So our next niece is Fortuna Minor. Okay? Now we go to the next 2. Now these are 2 daughters that we're adding together. Now we're going to get the third niece by adding these 2 together. 2, we stop with the head, or the top row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number. Odd numbers translate to 1 dot. Now we add up the second row. The next, we add up the second row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number. Odd numbers translate again to 1. We add up the next row. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is an even number. Even numbers translate to 2. Now we add up the last row, the feet, so to speak. The bottom row. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is an even number, which translates to 2. Again, here we have Fortuna Minor. Now, to get the last niece, we add up these 2 figures. Excuse me. So now we get the last niece by adding these 2 daughters. So we start with the head, or the top row. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is an even number, which translates to 2. Now we add up the neck, or the second row. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number, translates to 1. Now we add the bottom row. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number, translates to 1. So now we have the last niece, which is Cauda Draconis. So once again, the first 4 figures are the 4 mothers. The 4 mothers are the only figures that we actually added up all the rows and stuff, okay? Now from again, they're called mothers because all the other figures come from the mothers. The 4 daughters are obtained from the mothers by adding up all the rows, or not adding them up, but so the first daughter, top row of each one. So odd, odd, even, odd. Odd, odd, even, odd. Second daughter, the second row of each one. Even, 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 odd. Even, even, even. Okay? Third daughter, the third row of each of the mothers. Makes up the body of the third daughter. So 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2. Okay? Then the last daughter, the bottom row of each of the mothers makes up the body of the last daughter. So 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay? And then again, these are called, the last 4 figures here are called the nieces. The nieces are obtained by adding these 2, you get the first niece. Add these 2, get the second niece. Add these 2, you get the third niece. Add these 2, you get the fourth niece. Now, there are 3 more figures to get to complete. This is again found through addition. Here we add the 2 nieces. We add these 2 nieces together. Okay. To get the first witness. So we start with the top row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. Now we go to the second row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which again translates to 1. Now we go to the third row. We add the third row. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. And then the bottom row, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is an even number, which translates to 2. So we have our first witness. Now we add these 2 together to get our second witness. We start at the top row. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. Now we add the second row. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is an even number, which translates to 2. Now we add up the third row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. Now we add up the last row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. So now we add up our 2 witnesses to get the judge. And the judge is the answer, in short, to the whole reading. So we're almost done. We add up the top row. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is an even number, which translates to 2. Add up the second row. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is an odd number, which translates to 1. We add up the third row. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is an even number, which translates to 2. Now we add up the bottom row. 2 plus 1 is 3, which is an odd number, which adds up to 1. So this is our judge. Our judge is the answer to the whole reading. Excuse me. Which is acquisitio, which means gain or increase. This is good. So whatever we asked about, this is a very good sign. Now, to kind of understand what this means, the 2 witnesses help to elaborate what this is talking about. Okay? Now, what do you do with the other parts of this? These are the 12 houses of the zodiac. First of all, you always want to look at your first house, because that's how you face the situation. And you want to look at the house that directly refers to what you're looking at. So if you're wanting to know, if your whole question was about work, you'll want to look at your 6th house, which is work. And you want to look at your first house, of course, as well. So You want to look at your 6th house, which here is Tristitia. Let's say that your reading was about work. You'll look at your 6th house. And also look at your 1st house, how you face the situation. You'll look at your judge. Okay? If you want to know about, if your reading was about your relationships, let's say your partnership, let's say that your reading was about your wife or husband or whatever, or your life partner. You'll want to look at the 7th house as well as the 1st and the judge and the witnesses, okay? But the 7th house is going to be the deciding factor. Let's say that you're looking at career. If your reading was about career, you're really going to want to look at this 10th house, which is career, or group work. You'll want to look at this 11th house. So basically, you look at the house that governs what you're asking about, as well as the judge, and I like to look at the 1st house. Now, if anything is unclear, then you can add the judge to that. Like, let's say that you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. Why would my work be this figure? So you'll add the judge to it, and you'll get 2, 2. Ooh, that is Rubius. That is not a good sign. Anyways, now, if the whole reading's still complicated and you still don't understand, you can get what's known as a reconciler by adding your judge to your 1st house. Okay? So you add up the 1st row, you get 3, which is 1. Add up the 2nd row, 1 plus 2 is 3, which is 1. Add up the 3rd row, 2 plus 1 is 3, which is 3, which is an odd number, translates to 1. Add up the last row. And this is Cauda Draconis, the tail of the dragon, which is all astrological symbolism. This is called the reconciler. If you want to know more about a reading, you can always add the judge to the 1st house, or to whatever other house to elucidate. And this is basically how to do a geomantic reading. So, how would I normally prepare myself before I do any kind of a ritual? The first thing I do, let's say I'm wanting to do a ritual with let's say I'm wanting to do a ritual with full or whatever, okay? I'll write out the name, I'll call upon the spirit, I'll call upon it, then I'll ask my question. Normally I'll write down my question, whatever it is, at the top of the page, and then I get 4 geomantic figures, okay? And, you know, again, it took a long time to explain, but once you know what you're doing, this is super easy to do. Like, it takes literally no time. So, although it did take a while to explain, it takes very little time. You can do this in the same amount of time that you can lay out a tarot spread, practically. So, even though it seems like a long time, it's really not that bad. Let's say I got here I'd have 2, 2, 1, 2, second daughter. Here I'd have 2, 2, 2, 2, populace. So now I'm going to get my 3rd daughter. So 3rd row down, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's Wea. Now I'm going to get my 4th daughter. I'm just showing you how fast this can be. Bottom row. 1, 1, 1, 2. That's Cauda Draconis. So now I'm going to get my first niece. I'm showing you just how fast this can be. It took a while to explain, but once you know what you're doing, this takes like literally no time. Okay, so again, it's Populus. Now I'm going to add up the next one. Okay, it's Carcer. Now I'm going to get this niece. 2, 2, 1, 2. That's Albus. Now I'm going to get my last niece. 2, 2, 2, then 1. Okay, so now I'm going to get my 2 judges. 1, 2, 2, 1. It's Carcer. Get my second judge. 2. Now I'm going to, witnesses. Witnesses. Now I'm going to get my judge from these 2 witnesses. Alright. That's not good. That's Amicio. Let's say I want to figure out what the hell this is talking about, because I still don't get it. Okay. Carcer. Let's say I'm asking about... Let's say I'm asking about relationships. In this situation, Wea means like going your own way. Amicio is a loss, and Carcer could also, is ruled by Saturn, which is solitary. And this is yeah, so basically, even though it took a long time to explain, this is super quick and easy, like bam, bam, bam. And you could communicate with, spirits. Normally what I do, like I said, before I do a magical working, I ask the Olympic spirit, if it's planetary ritual, I'll ask the Olympic spirit, should I do this? And again, with the Olympic spirits, I have a certain rapport with them, and I trust them. If they say I shouldn't do it, then I may look into why. Is it because it'll backfire? Is it because the particular procedure is not effective? Because I've never done it before. I didn't know it's just an ineffective procedure. Or there's certain things that I don't know about. Or is it something that I think I want, but once I get it, I really don't want it? By the way, since I'm on here, you get to see my iron ring. I always carry iron with me. Iron drives away impurities and is a protective. I always carry iron. I highly encourage it. But anyways, first thing I do is I ask the Olympic spirit, should I do this? If it looks like no, then I try to figure out why. If it looks like it's a good go, then I do a natal chart for the day and hour to see what's going on astrologically. If things don't look good astrologically, then I choose a different date. And then I see, well, how do things look astrologically the next week on that planetary day and hour? Let's say I'm trying to work with Bethor. I'll ask Bethor about it. I'll consult him. If it looks good, I may see, well, how do things look this Thursday during that planetary hour? If things don't look good astrologically, then I'll say, well, how do things look the next Thursday? I look for a good astrological timing. Then I'll usually double check with Bethor. Is this going to be effective? Is this a good time for this ritual? And then so I follow up with a second geomantic reading. This is how I always do my rituals, and it's helped a lot. So I'm not here to dictate or tell people how they should do things, but I'm here to share, for those that want to learn. Maybe you can get something out of this as well. And that is today's lesson on geomancy. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. Once again, new videos come out every Saturday morning. So yeah, if you want to support my work, go to my Patreon account, and I will see you guys next time. I'll see you guys next Saturday. Thank you for joining me.